Thank you, Senan. So yes, my name is Mairead O'Donnell and I'm the Director of Operations for a company called Polar Ice Tech. I also happen to be the chairperson for the Southwest Lean Forum and a very proud member of that for sure. You're very welcome to tonight. It's quite a momentous occasion tonight because it's the first ever Lean Business Ireland cross-regional online discussion. This discussion tonight is really the essence of what we do in the regional networks. The Lean Business Ireland brought us all together so we could learn from each other and move forward and grow together in business and in Lean. And here we are finding ourselves in a virtual world where we're living the hashtag we're all in this together. Just as the country is coming together to support the HSE, Stuart Nelson, who's the chairperson of the Midlands Network, brought all the regional heads together earlier this week and said, well, how can we as business people come together and share the knowledge that we have, but equally share the challenges we're experiencing within our Lean network. And many thanks to Stuart for organising this evening, but equally to Senan and the IDA for all their support, and Enterprise Ireland for sure. So the aim for us tonight is that we'll all learn. Before we start, there are a couple of things I just want to go through in terms of the structure of how this is going to happen. So all of our panelists here are highly experienced, lovely business people, and they're going to share with us the challenges they've met within their own teams because of this COVID-19 pandemic. And equally, what we're going to do then is we're going to explore what systems, processes, or tools they've brought in to their workplaces to ensure that while we might only be moving forward incrementally, we're still moving forward. We're going to have a chat with each panelist for approximately 7 minutes. While we're doing that, all the other panelists should write down their questions they have for the one who's speaking. So if you at home have questions, you should use the chat function, and what we'll do is when it comes to the questions and answer section, then we'll introduce them as well. So like I said, it's 7 minutes per panelist, followed by question and answer, and then we'll move on. Technical issues may occur, and it's something I just want to highlight to everybody. So let's be patient with one another. We're only a couple of days into living this virtual world. So if any of our panelists fall offline for whatever reasons, don't panic. Just try and get back on to us, and what we'll do is we'll continue and we'll pick up afterwards when we can. If for whatever reason I drop offline, Senan is my deputy and has promised that he will moderate there and keep things going. But let's just be patient with one another, and let's get started. So joining us first is Adrian Furey. Hi Adrian, how are you?
Great, how are you?
Not so bad at all. Nice to meet you, for sure. Adrian, you're the Vice President of Global Supply Chain Logistics at Zimmer. Can you tell us just in detail, what do you actually do? What is your role?
So my role involves the oversight of 12 manufacturing plants around Europe and a number of distribution centres. So we've been tracking their progress over the last couple of weeks since this happened, and clearly I have a very hands-on role with the leadership team with the 2 sites we have in Shannon and Galway, which is about 700 team members.
Okay. And how have you been affected on a practical level?
Well, I mean, this started about a month ago. We heard about it like everybody else through the media. We spent a lot of time educating ourselves. The site leadership team under Claude Costello have spent a lot of time with our company doctor, educating ourselves on, you know, what was likely to happen. Like everybody else, it was a journey of exploration for us as well. We didn't really know what we were dealing with at the start. So the team spent a lot of time with medical professionals understanding what their best direction was. So that was the first thing. And And to be honest with you, that's still going. We, like everybody else, are not sure where it's going to end, when it's going to end, or how that's going to all play out. So that communication stream is literally daily. And we're doing that to make sure, you know, we're protecting the team members. When they come to work, it's a very safe place to work. They feel it's a safe place to work. All the actions we've put in place has really generated a lot of confidence in them that the team are taking it seriously and we're doing the right things. And then, you know, there's a lot of media about this as well. So clearly the whole social responsibility piece is very big. And team members are extremely engaged in what's going on the site from a point of view of their safety, and also from the point of view of how the plant is doing in this difficult time. So it's not work as normal, albeit I would say we are leaning more and more on those lean tools and principles we put in place, and we're using them to provide a lot of structure and normality in the business, even though things are not quite normal.
And are you still operating as normal? Are people still able to turn up? Do you still have all your teams in place? Is productivity impacted? How is it on the ground?
Yeah, so
excuse me.
If I maybe talk about two things, well, on the ground, I suppose, if I talk about engagement and then maybe morale. So I think if you were to talk about morale, the morale of the team is very much like the morale in the country. It's quite nervous. People are not sure. People are concerned about a lot of things, whether it's their parents, uncles, aunts themselves, or it's their future employment and income and how they protect their families. That's normal. We have 700 team members, so it's like a microcosm of what goes on in Ireland in general. In terms of engagement, I can tell you that not just in Ireland, but across even our other sites in different countries, the engagement has been incredibly high. People are extremely focused on safe behavior. They're incredibly focused on how we can work through this together. And they're incredibly focused on, you know, making sure we all have jobs after this and we're all providing for our families and protecting our mortgages and everything that goes with that. So the engagement level, extremely high. Morale, you know, it is what it is. And then, you know, we do spend a lot of time trying to mitigate that through different activities we do on the shop floor, reward and recognition, leadership engagement in a safe way, and communication, and modifying our communication as we go.
Can I just pick you up on that, Adrian? Just in terms of you modifying communication, you mentioned communication a couple of times. Like, how are you communicating? What are you using, or what tools?
Yeah. So like it's been a journey. The last month has been an incredible journey. So at the start, we focused very much on town hall type communication, where we pull the shifts together. Right. We have 2 factories. We run a 24/5 shift and a 24/7 shift pattern. So quite different in their challenge. So communication was very much in a group level at the start, all focused on education. So education about COVID-19. What we were hearing in the media, trying to calibrate people to what our doctor was saying, the best advice he was giving us. We were making sure we were utterly transparent with them. So everything we knew, they knew. Same with the business, everything we knew about the business in terms of globally, because our plants provide product for the globe, not just Ireland or European countries. So we're providing them with a lot of information on how the business is doing. They clearly watch our share price. We're a publicly traded company. So utter transparency, both from a business point of view, from a safety point of view, from a people point of view. That morphed into smaller groups, one-to-ones, using our visual factory as best we can to, like we have flat screens around the plant, and we provide that with the most up-to-date information, both on what's going on in the plant, but we also have the RTE news feed live in the plant, so people can just keep an eye on things. And, you know, everything is about keeping a sense of calm in a very abnormal time. And I can't compliment the team enough in terms of the activities they do and the energy they put into that. And I suppose lastly, you know, we're trying to lead positively as well. Like, I know the leaders in the sites are nervous themselves. I know they are. But in fairness to the guys, they lead with a positive approach. We influence what we can control. We don't worry about stuff that we cannot control. We just leave that out of it. We really focus on what we control to get the best result we can, both for our team members, for our business, and for the patients that will need our products in the months to come.
Adrian, just on your products, for anyone who won't know your company, why are you considered essential services, and what is it that you're producing that are so important?
Yeah, that's a great question, right? So we're considered an essential service because we provide medical devices for the globe. So when I say medical devices, our two factories produce predominantly hip and knee replacement parts. Okay, so knee femurs, knee tibias, and so on. At the moment in Ireland, there's no elective surgery going on. Most of those procedures are elective. And the first question goes, well, why do we need to operate? The reality is that we're part of a global supply chain that provide products all over the world. And as you've seen in the media, China is starting to move out of its crisis zone, if you like. Japan is doing quite well. South Korea is back in operation. Lots of parts of the world are still want their patients looked after. They still want their replacement hips and knees. The patients want to get back to their normal life. So the products made in our two sites, they're the only place in the world we make these products. We don't have a plan B or a plan C. They're made in Ireland. They've been here for the last 10 years, and we have patients who are looking for that product. So we continue to serve them.
And can I ask you then, in terms of your role and objectives, you would have been working towards, regardless of COVID-19, because we were all working towards something. We all had quarterly and annual ambitions. Where are you from a lean perspective in all of those? Are you still moving incrementally forward? Are you trying to keep a sense of normality in terms of progressing and keeping it business as normal?
We absolutely are, Mairead. It's slightly abnormal in the plant in terms of there are work practices now that we strictly adhere to because it's the right thing to do. So, for example, if we have to modify shift start times, we do it. We do it proactively. We take on board any suggestions the team members have. But in terms of lean, we're using our lean tools. So be that the visual boards on the shop floor, be it the standard work that the leaders follow, whatever it is, we drive that even harder because that's what drives the best ideas and the best solutions fast. And it really drives an agile culture. And that agile culture I've seen really in operation over the last month. The shop floor and how we even operate in the cafeteria, it's unrecognizable from 3 weeks ago. Unrecognizable. And what's really encouraging is that all the team members, as I said, the level of engagement is really high. And you can see everybody following the procedures. I'll give you an example. I was in the plant in Galway, as it happens, on a Sunday night at 7 o'clock as our normal shift change. And there's a lot of team members. We've staggered the shift start. So the shift 1 will finish before shift 2. Normally there would be a handover. We've skipped the handover. We've worked out a better way to do that handover through boards on the shop floor. Shift 1 is gone before shift 2 ever arrived. And when we clocked in with shift 2, everybody stood about 2 meters apart. Everybody swiped at the clock-in stations. Everybody made their way to the designated areas to wash their hands. And everybody followed the protocol exactly as laid out by Claude and the team. And it was incredibly impressive to see that operation. And they didn't know I was there. I just turned up. So, and I just followed the process myself. It's everybody from top to bottom. And that's been great.
And thanks for sharing all that with us, because I think what's been indicative of this pandemic is how the Irish people collectively have come together. And while people are individually fearful or worried and stressed about things, collectively we've come together to move forward. And that's obviously exemplified where you are in terms of how people are moving in the right direction together. Everybody increase morale, and when we can all play a part, we all have a greater sense of belonging. And I just think that's one of the key essence of lean as well. It's all about people and coming together and moving forward. In using that as a segue, if I can, Adrian, I'm gonna move to Miriam. Miriam, are you with us there?
I am. I hope I don't crash out. I crashed out earlier.
Oh, yeah. Well, look, if you do crash out, don't worry about it. What we'll do is we'll just move on to Ciarán, and then we can come back and revisit it if that's all right with yourself.
No problem.
Yeah. So you've had the heads up there. Adrian got the baptism of fire in terms of the questions. So you've a heads up in terms of the direction we're taking.
Okay, yeah, go on. Well, I missed most of it, sorry.
That's okay. So, Miriam, you're Miriam Keogh. You're the head of supply chain and continuous improvement at Dawn Farms. Can you tell us on a day-to-day basis what you actually do? What is your job?
Well, my own job would be, from a supply chain perspective, would be to overview the whole sustainability and efficiency of supply chain. And we export to 45 different countries. We would supply cooked protein to food service and manufacturing companies, and we're predominantly business to business. So there's obviously a significant supply chain team behind that. And then the whole lean, we have our own lean continuous improvement program in here, which we call Lean Movements at Dawn Farms. And it's something that we would have put a lot of work and effort in particularly the last few years. And from a culture point of view, we would have found ourselves in a very good place around problem solving, collaboration with our people, using lean tools. So I suppose where I am at the moment is trying to figure out smart ways of making that lean is seen to be leading the businesses through this very volatile and challenging time. For people to realise that it will be lean objectives and principles that will help businesses get back on track again. But also, what role can lean play in this in the next few months? We seem to be leading. So we're after coming up with a couple of different initiatives, if you want me to share them with people, about how to keep lean to the fore in the practice. Okay, so a very simple and practical one was where we were given initiative to all the managers in each of the departments now to still identify, whether they're remotely or on site, to still identify projects or challenges. So they've all now to identify certain problem definitions. And with that, then we're going to put teams around them. And they could be a particular department or interdepartmental or cross-departmental, it doesn't matter. And we're using a very, it's open to everybody, it's called, I think it's Microsoft Whiteboards. So we're creating links through our Teams or Zoom, and we're using the whiteboards, and we're basically doing problem solving using the A3 format. But it's working really well. So people are, while they're on a PC or remotely, they're not necessarily in the one room talking to each other, but they're obviously working with each other, collaborating on the different digital technology here, and still doing problem solving, and it's working very, very well. And what we're finding is people, some now more than others, seem to have a bit more space, headspace or time to focus on these. It's keeping them stimulated. It's keeping our as I say, our continuous improvement type of culture to the fore around solutions. We want a company full of problem solvers, and it's definitely seems to work, and it's keeping them stimulated. So that's one of the initiatives. Another initiative that we're looking at is online streaming. So a couple of the guys on the Lean team are doing upskilling around using Teams, SharePoint, Power BIs, advanced Excel, I think I've heard of other businesses doing that, but we're after getting loads of people signing up for it. But again, we're calling it a digital lean program, and it's just about people that mightn't be as savvy on using Power BIs. Hopefully now, when they're back in the office in a number of weeks, are now very fluent in using these type of skill sets. Another idea we had was
Mary, just before you move on, can I just stay on that if you don't mind, because I know in multiple discussions that I've been having this week, the issue of and last week, the issue of technology and the different types of technology that we're using has come up time and time again, and people seem to be saying, that they're actually learning more in these couple of weeks about technology than they ever did. Do you feel that, people have a greater capacity at work now because, one, they don't have the big commute, they're not moving from a family life in their head straight into work and back and forth? Do you feel that people are more productive, that they're advancing, they're feeling like they're moving forward because they're using all this new technology? How do you feel that that's impacting your team?
Well, I think it's having a really positive impact, and I would have been very cynical about it before, because I would have been of the old stock that likes the whole one-to-one and the people getting together in the same room and meeting up and talking about different challenges that way. But I have to say, we have been using Teams, and everybody's picture comes up on the screen, and it's really, really good. I can speak personally saying that for me it's been a bit of a game changer and opening my mind to being a bit more open and receptive to having remote meetings and conf calls. And they're just, they're working out. I think people realise that they have to work. So everybody's making an extra effort to make sure that the communication is good. The meetings don't have to be as lengthy. And I think people seem to have a good headspace as well when they're working remotely. They are definitely less distracted and I think more focused. So yeah, I think it's potentially game changer down the road how businesses might be a bit more open and receptive to remote working.
Isn't that so interesting, for sure, in terms of what our new reality could end up looking like? How are you meeting the challenges of people who like most of us are very traditional workers, while we're all adapted, we've no problem with emails and text messages and various things like that, but there has to be a cohort of people who are finding the move to a virtual environment challenging. Are you experiencing that? And if you are, how are you meeting that?
Well, I suppose we seem to have a good group that are pretty fluent, and what they're doing is they're being very generous with their time in working with people and showing them how to navigate the digital technology and how to utilize it better. So it doesn't seem to be a problem, and I think it's a case of having to needs must. And I think when people need to do no different to social distancing, they get it very quickly. It's like the brain kicks in and they just get on with it, as opposed to, oh no, don't worry, I'll come down and talk to you side by side now. It's actually, no, we have to have this Skype or Teams talk. So it doesn't seem to be a problem for the moment anyway.
Well, I'll let you tell us. You were going to tell us about another tool that you've brought in.
Yeah, so just something like Gemba walks. So again, the reason I'm saying all this is just I really believe that lean, it's important that lean, as I say, productivity is seen to be, leading the businesses through this. And also when, as I say, the dust settles, it will be lean that the businesses will look to try to get themselves back on track. But things like Gemba walks, for us, it would have been us going down, we say, to the operational floor, going up beside the operators, asking questions and all. But now what we're asking for them is to perhaps take notes of a particular challenge or take a video link or something. And so the flip is they actually, to do the Gemba walk, but send it back to us, the management team. So again, it's this virtual interaction. So we're not going to the floor to stand beside somebody to say, how are you getting on, or why do you do this? What they're doing now is they're identifying different challenges, and they're now taking details out and pictures and sending it back to us now. So there's still this type of, and like, I'm calling that Gemba walk. So I'm trying to use lean terminology with slightly different ways to make people realize we're still using lean methods.
Sure.
So that's one of them. And then one of the other initiatives we have is that we're also doing our yellow belts on virtual training as well. So while there is a practical part of our yellow belt, what we're doing is we're calling it phase 1, where anybody now that still wants to do yellow belt can do it remotely online with us, and they'll get part 1 of 2 phases of a yellow belt pass, so that when everybody hopefully is back to work, they'll have half a yellow belt achieved, and they now need to just do the project relevant.
Sure. That's really brilliant, for sure. And very ingenious of you. In terms of the staff, are you down in numbers? Are you at a reduced level, or how are you impacted from that perspective?
We are impacted, all right. We would be significant suppliers to some of the world brands in the food service, some of which at the moment are not really open for business. However, we're still there supporting them. Some of them are doing a lot more home deliveries. The manufacturing end of the business is very, very busy. So yeah, we would have we have capacity right now at the moment just to meet demand. But yeah, the impact is there for sure.
Okay, all right, Miriam, thanks. Thanks for that, for sure. Make sure to stay on the line. Don't leave us as much as possible. I'm going to come to Ciarán if I can. Ciarán, how are you?
Hi Mairead, how are you?
I'm great, thanks. Thanks for joining us.
No problem.
Ciarán, you were one of the initial people to have started this conversation on Monday.
Yep.
So thank you for that. You are the Associate Director of Continuous Improvement and Knowledge Transfer at Alexion. Am I pronouncing Alexion correctly?
Absolutely, yeah, spot on. Perfect.
Can you tell us a little bit in detail of what you actually do? What is your role?
Sure. So my role, I cover sort of 2 areas within the plant. So first is knowledge transfer. So I cover all aspects of training learning and development on the site. So for those who don't know, Alexion, we're a biopharmaceutical manufacturing company. We have a plant in College Park in Blanchardstown and a plant in Athlone. So relatively new facilities in Ireland. So we're about nearly 4 years now in Blanchardstown. So we cover bulk drug substance and packing lines and associated warehouse and Cub facilities, and we also run our global supply chain organization out of Dublin. So my job is to cover all aspects of training, to manage the training programs for the site, and also the continuous improvement program, which is relatively new. We're just starting up a CI program, we call it EDGE. So my role is to champion that and to lead that on the site in College Park.
Can I ask you if, in terms of, you just said there that you're starting up continuous improvement, and now
Yes.
you have COVID-19. And are you worried in any way that there'll be a loss of momentum? Because sometimes continuous improvement and lean, when it's not understood, can be misinterpreted to be something different.
Sure.
Are you worried in any way that the COVID-19 will impact the introduction of that?
I think similar to maybe some of the thoughts that Miriam had. I think it's just we're going to have to modify our message slightly. So yes, we will still continue. So the main elements of our CI program at the moment would be a small improvements program, which is process user led. So we call it opportunity knocks. It's an idea generation process, like anyone, like I'd say nearly everyone on the call has the version of the same thing. So to give you one example of how the current situation is affecting that, we would have had face-to-face weekly CI meetings in certain areas. That's going to have to go virtual or be supported virtually. So just in terms of CI support, it's putting together a framework where those who are on site and those who are supporting from off-site can come together virtually and discuss small improvements both on the shop floor. And I think one thing that this has thrown up is that we have probably about 70 to 80% of people working from home. We have a high proportion because we have a lot of global support functions on site. We're seeing lots of opportunities for improvement because of the new ways of working. So it's from a CI point of view, from a continuous improvement or a lean point of view, it's capturing those learnings and making sure we're communicating them to all areas. So I think Miriam made a great point about people are upskilling incredibly fast on remote working and virtual meetings and the functionality of Zoom. We use Zoom, but same for Microsoft Teams or other platforms. Functionality that's there that we just never ever use because we didn't have to. So,
are you finding that people are more engaged? Are you finding that you have a greater productivity level from people because of this?
I think, it depends. Like we have teams who are still on site, who are still supporting manufacturing operations. So some of our quality teams, our actual manufacturing packaging teams are still on site. So their day-to-day tasks haven't changed much. I know obviously we're adhering to strict social distancing on site where we can, we're facilitating that. But for those who have transitioned to working from home, it's new for an awful lot of people. Most people are just not used to working from home. So we've been very conscious of providing supports for those people. We talked about communications. So we have issued extensive communications on all aspects of working from home, whether that be your ergonomics, your safety, your mental well-being, the isolation. We've instituted things like simple coffee chats on Zoom. So not a meeting, just we meet up. Teams are encouraged to meet up and just say hello. Just keeping lines of communication and open for people, especially for some team members who are isolating for different reasons, that they're still feel part of the team and they're still able to contribute. And just the other thing I'd add is what we're seeing now is as teams transition to work from home, there is a certain teams will have more capacity. So what we're asking people to do, similar to what Miriam outlined, is identify processes that have had issues up to now and tackle them now in a limited duration team a project format essentially, and provided almost like a DMAIC process for them, a simple DMAIC. We've yellow belts, train yellow belts across the site to get them engaged and start facilitating virtual structured problem solving exercises, virtual fishbone diagrams, root cause analysis, all those simple tools that what we're learning is happen quite effectively virtually. I would have been the same. I would have been an absolute advocate of you have to be in the room, you have to be talking to each other, and you have to be standing in front of a whiteboard. And yes, that is still the preferred option, but where it can't happen, you can still have a very, very rich root cause analysis session with a virtual fishbone and the right people on the call using videos.
It's incredible, isn't it? Because, you know, until we were forced to be in a position like this, we didn't appreciate or were we aware of the magnitude of technological solutions that are available to us. Because the majority of us are, no, you need to be in the room. What technology are you using, Ciarán?
So we're using Zoom. I just saw the question there. We're using Zoom, and on Zoom there's a very simple annotation tool where you can present a whiteboard, and you construct a whiteboard in a fishbone shape, and people can annotate, can add their root causes to the particular bones of the fish, and you can have a discussion. You can rank them. There's ranking tools within Zoom, and you can carry out the functionality of a fishbone or root cause analysis session quite easily.
Sure. And do you feel that even though people are apart and are separate, do you feel that there's still, I suppose, there's still this positive morale between people, and that people, outside of you leading it, are people communicating together? Are they coming together? Is there a sense of community and team still among people?
I think I like what Adrian said. Like, people are nervous, no more than the general population. Like, people have all their individual concerns, and we're really focusing on is we're asking people managers to try and understand where people are at. Some people are affected much more deeply than others. They have different concerns and different risk factors for themselves, for their families, for their parents, for their siblings or their children, whatever. We're really pushing the message of being kind to ourselves and being kind to each other. I know that might sound a bit vague, but I think we have to be conscious that a lot of people are adjusting very quickly to a very, very changed set of circumstances. For those who are still on site, we need to provide the utmost of support for those people. We have a very strict protocol around access to site and risk management process around access to site. Similar to Adrian, we liaise closely with our company medical experts. We worked out processes with them. And for those who aren't on site, we're trying to provide as much support to them as well. So there is, well, again, it will vary across different teams, across different functions, across different days. But it's really about making sure we're tasking our people managers as the first line of communication. So we have emails, we have town halls, absolutely. But we're really pushing and challenging our team leaders to be the primary line of communication with their people, to understand their individual needs and how they can contribute during this time.
Yeah, that's really great, Ciarán. Thank you so much. I'm going to, if it's okay, Rob, are you on the line there? You're going to have to unmute yourself because Senan can't see you wherever you are. So Rob Brosnan is with us. He's the team. He's the lean leader with GE Healthcare. Rob, are you with us?
Can you hear me there, Mairead?
Yeah, I can, absolutely. Can you turn on your video for us, please, Rob?
I can, yeah.
That's great. Thank you. We've had such wonderful contributions from all the panelists so far. So just while Rob is getting ready, I just want to say thank you. There are a number of questions coming through that I feel any of the panelists could answer. So I held back on a couple of questions that have come up, but there's a number of them in there in case you're wondering why I haven't addressed them yet. So that's great, Rob. Thank you. That's brilliant. Yeah, and that's Elton. Hi, Elton. For sure, we can see you guys. So Rob, you are the lean leader at GE Healthcare. Can you tell everyone who's on the call exactly what you do?
Hi all. I'm the lean leader here in GE Healthcare in Cork. Basically, I manage the lean program, Six Sigma, and support problem solving and value stream mapping as well. But I suppose the last couple of weeks have been primarily supporting the crisis team. We have a crisis team here that started on the 13th of March, led by Elton, and we're very much directed by the HSE and the World Health Organization guidelines. So, you know, here people are paramount to what we do. It's people and it's customer and it's safety, and we're very much focused on that from day to day. Myself in the lean department, along with what a lot of other people have said, I've been involved with zoning, setting up zoning permits. So people, we have different zones across the plant here. So people, there's no mixing of any kind between production and packaging and service areas. You can only enter an area through zoning. We're following our social distancing, and we've been marking the floors, marking the areas, the 2 meter rule. The canteen has totally changed compared to where it was 3-4 weeks ago. Everyone is on staggered breaks. We're cleaning plant-wide with IPA. We have contact tracing logs as well that we fill out daily who we're in contact with. We're doing a lot of micro testing. We have daily communication that comes from our site leader, giving us updates, and people have the opportunity to reply back in that as well. We have also a communication board where people can write up their questions. The big thing as well for us is that the crisis team go around meeting people face to face, keeping their social distance, but we're very much focused on getting people's feedback on how they are. As everyone said here, it's a nervous time for people, but everyone's concerns are being logged and traced and given feedback.
Shannon here. I think we might have just dropped Mairead, so I'm going to jump in,
Right, Senator.
Rob, if you don't mind, until Mairead comes back in. In terms of social distancing in the workplace, on a manufacturing floor, that can be very difficult. There are loud machines, there's loud noises going on, and there's various activities that must take place. And lean is all about communication. The more communication, the better, more productive you can be. How can you ensure, or how are you going about ensuring that there is good communication taking place on the factory floor, in between the teams, in the office and on the floor, whilst actually protecting the employees?
As far as protecting the employees are concerned, social distancing is put in all across the plant. We have put in perspex guards between anyone that's less than 2 meters. That's all come in the last 2 weeks. We're using a lot of 5S tape to segregate the 2 meters in workstations. And again, the people team leaders are very, very strong here, very much meeting people, and everyone is following the rules. I must say now there's been a very good buy-in here. You know, we've good attendance, and output is being maintained, which is great.
Okay, perfect. And then I suppose with many of the practices of lean, or many practices of the current crisis with COVID-19 or the emergency, whatever it is that we're calling it today, are counterintuitive to lean. So how are your team still looking at putting in, I suppose, new practices? Are they looking at the processes as they are at the moment? Is this still something that you are pursuing? And how effective can it be if not everybody is there on site and they're all staying 2 meters apart from each other?
look, it's about people safety first of all. I mean, that's what Lean's about. It's about people, and it's about the customers, and it's about following that process. That's the paramount message. You know, it's building trust with people. We're all here together. We're in this together, and we'll get through this together. You know, and people will remember that when we go forward. It's not about meeting every target, but it's about doing things in a safe way and respecting people. And it's bringing people closer together too in a lot of ways.
Yeah. And I suppose looking to the future, the ambition is that we're all going to be back to work and everything will be normal in a week and a half from today. Fingers crossed. How are you planning for Easter onwards?
Look, it's difficult to say at this stage. It's changing daily. You know, we're as I said, we have fully engaged with people. They're on board. We will continue to do the best we can to supply our customers, right up until you know, things change and things improve. And I think, you know, we like to be positive here and think that in the next 2 to 3 weeks we should be starting to see, hopefully, that things resuming back. And also, I suppose, a lot of people said here about using Skype and that, you know, we're seeing opportunities for new ways of working for the future, and standard work and that will change as well. But the main thing for us at the moment is keeping people keeping our people inside.
Okay, perfect. Thank you very much. I think this is a good segue. We're coming up close to our 45-minute cutoff period, but and Mairead is back on. So I've unmuted all of the panelists at the moment, and without going crazy and people speaking over each other, based on the chat function that you've seen, hopefully on the right-hand side of your screen, there's been questions have been asked throughout the process. Have any of those questions jumped out at you that you think that you might want to specifically comment on?
I saw something. Sorry, go on.
Go on, Miriam, we'll go to you
Okay.
first.
No, just the canteens. I think I saw a question there. Just something very practical is, and I think Ciarán mentioned earlier, where they segregated and they started rotating the staffs for their breaks and that. So something as simple as we actually marked where people could sit. So X marks a spot in the canteen where you can sit. So, and then we would have a substantial site. So people, that administration staff, were basically asked to get their meal and then bring it back to their desk, which wouldn't be ideal in normal circumstances. But what that did was allowed operational people to be able to go up in their own clusters and sit at marked positions, which kept them safe while they could have their lunch. It's just something very practical. That's all, just to share that.
That's great. Ciarán, we'll come to you there next. Did you spot something you wanted to come back on?
Yeah, I think I just started a comment earlier on about learning and development during this time. So I think it's important that, you know, I think there's a particular comment around training needing close contact or needing people to be one-to-one. I think that's absolutely true for certain types of training, but I think there's we're asking people if they do have spare capacity to concentrate maybe on a learning and development opportunity. So we're providing resources around Nibert Online, LinkedIn Learning, and there's actually a lot of companies out there offering free resource at the moment in terms of learning and development. So encouraging people where they can to dedicate a bit of time to upskilling on perhaps a skill or a need that's not part of their core role, but is part of their wider development. I think that's just we're providing the resource there where we can. So just, I think, and then for training itself, there's certain elements of our training can be done remotely, and even for those teams who are on site, we are actively and aggressively chasing cross training, because as this develops, and depending where it goes, we may see gaps opening up in shifts due to people being isolated and being removed from site. So we need to really make sure we have no single points of failure on shifts for particular methods or particular processes. So for those on site, we're actively targeting cross training for those people.
Sure, and there's a great question as a segue from that, Ciarán. Great question just came in there from Wagner. It's a question for the panel. For the resources that are working from home, how do companies check in and ensure that the health and welfare of the individual is as well marshalled as it would be on site? For many people, the work environment was changed to separate home and work life. So sorry there, Aidan, I made a bit of a mess out of that. So I suppose Aidan is concerned that, obviously some people, they enjoy going to work and, getting a bit of a break from what happens at home sometimes, because home life can be busy just as well. But when people are working from home and they're managing children and they're managing commitments of various things like that, how are you guys? And we'll go to Rob first, and then we'll go to Aidan, Miriam and Ciarán. How are you marshalling that, or how are you checking in with people? So Rob, we'll go to you first on that
one. So we have regular calls with our support staff, and we use Skype and we use Zoom, and we also keep logs of activities and minutes of what's happening.
Or Aidan, we'll come to you next.
Marie, can you hear me?
Yes, yeah, work away, got you there.
Yeah, so in terms of checking in with people, for the past 2 weeks, we've been doing a daily call, European-wide. It's at 10 o'clock in the morning. I do it with the site leaders, and they share in a very candid way what's going on with their team and their plant. Now, the teams are all different sizes. We have 700 here. There might be 50 people in Switzerland, for example. So the leaders share in a very candid way what's going on in the plant. To be honest with you, we focus a lot on attendance to start with. Is everybody in? Have we got people? If people are not there, are we checking in with them? So a lot of people are working from home, are making sure that every day there's a contact with that person at home. And it doesn't have to be about work. It's just, hey, just checking in with you. Is it going okay? Have you got what you need? Did you get that email? Whatever. But it's very much about the person. So I think I liked what Ciarán said earlier. I think people remember most that you did the right thing. And that will be remembered months and months, long after this is over. And I'm really enforcing that with all the leaders. Do you do the right thing? So the right thing is look after the team member first, and business can come second, and it very much is second. And that's the philosophy we're driving. I think the sharing of learnings of the different countries, whether it's Switzerland, the UK, or Ireland, has been great. We all learned different things from each other. So I think that was a byproduct I hadn't planned on, but I know it's led to other offline conversations I'm not even on the phone for, whereby they share a lot of things themselves, or they pick up on something that happened in Switzerland, and then they're discussing that in a meeting room in Ireland. So that's been a big part of the journey over the last 2 or 3 weeks, and I'm hopeful that those work practices will continue for as long as they need to do.
Miriam, can I come to you on that question?
Yeah, we have daily calls and hookups, but it's just something as simple as we're all having a lot more social chat first before we get into the meeting. We actually genuinely ask each other, how are you getting on, how are things? And that just seems to set the tone, and people are just more, I think this feels that there's a good support base there for them. It's just simple as, your managers and your people and your team checking in with each other, how are you getting on? And then you can get to the business aspect of it,
Sure. And Ciarán, what are you doing?
Yeah, so it's as I mentioned, we a lot more checking in. It's social chats. We're encouraging people to just have a little bit of social chat. What we're seeing is you get a little bit of insight into people's lives, whether accidentally or on purpose, but we're seeing children backgrounds and pets and all sorts of stuff. So it's, it helps morale. It absolutely helps when you see, and we're not insisting, but we're really encouraging videos on all the time. We would never have had videos on Zoom calls before this. Just, you know, vast majority of people wouldn't do it. So we're saying to people now, please have your videos on. It just creates a link. It's a little bit more of that connection immediately. So it's something small as that makes a massive difference.
Benin is given out to me here. He's telling me I can only ask one more question. He's trying to speed me up. Before I ask the last question, can I just put it to the panel? We have a number of questions that have come in through the course of this conversation that we haven't been able to read. Would the four of you be willing to maybe give a contribution to answer these questions, and possibly we could post that with this video afterwards? Would the panel be okay with doing something like that?
Yeah, no problem at all.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, great. So my last question for everybody here is, I suppose it's what is keeping you up at night, and I mean that in the context of the COVID-19 and business, obviously, and what are you doing to fix it? So you know that there. Businesses of all sizes right now are facing big challenges. People, regardless of their commitments, are facing big challenges. But what's keeping you up at night? And what are you doing right now to fix that? And what technology, if you're using a technology, what technology is that? So Adrian, we'll go to you first.
What was the last bit of the question?
So if it's technology that you're using, what is that technology?
Okay, well, there's no well, first of all, like, what keeps us up at night? I mean, this issue clearly keeps me up at night. The updates I get from the team every morning, I really look forward to them in terms of making sure we're sustaining everybody's health and our business in the right way, delivering for our patients. I mean, that's my number one thing. To fix, I think we've covered a lot of that. It's all of the above, everything all the speakers said. I think that's going on in a lot of factories, the working at home and how we work at home. All those points that were made were perfectly valid and actually resonated a lot with what I've heard, not just in Zimmer and Zimmer Biomet, but also with other people that I've networked with, whether, you know, it's Boston Scientific, Medtronic, or other companies. So I think everybody's on the right page. In terms of technology, not a lot. I mean, the home working, clearly we use a lot of technology for that. On the shop floor, we already had a lot of technology in place, and we're lean tools, and we're leveraging them to as far. So I don't think there's a simple formula for it. I do believe in that, you know, lean is around a long time, and those work practices were generated over many decades. I believe they're absolutely the right thing to do. They provide a great sense of structure in a very, you know, can be slightly chaotic time. So we're driving a lot of that. And I'm confident that as a business and as a team, we will come out of it stronger, even if there's a few bumps on the way. I really do.
Great stuff. So we'll just very quickly go to Miriam next.
I suppose the number one priority is the health and well-being. And I suppose I would be a little bit concerned, not just from our workplace, but collectively, and in particular people in the front line, the longer term consequences of people's mental health. So that would be a big focus, I think, for all businesses to really try and do something in the next while. I think what we're trying to do at the moment is get different links together of wellbeing sites and that to share with our teams. I suppose the other practical side, the health and wellbeing side, it's the whole business aspect. It's having to look at your costs at the moment, where you think your potential business is going to be in 3 months or 6 months' time. Has the virus impacted potentially your customer base or not? Look for the opportunities in there. There are always opportunities. So that, from a more practical point of view, would be where my attention would be focused on as well.
Okay, great stuff. Ciarán, what's your answer to that?
I suppose what keeps me awake at night, I suppose it is. I tend to echo what Miriam said. It's a long-term effect on teams and the individuals' well-being, and I think Lean. We've no particular technology that stands out. We use lots of technology. We're learning to use more functionality within that technology we have, but we haven't put anything particularly new in place. I think you said yourself, Lean is all about communication, and the best thing we can do is to. That's not going to change. I think how we communicate is going to change for a certain period of time. So we just need to keep that communication open, whether it's virtual or face-to-face. I think that's the main challenge for us in the next couple of months, or the next few months, or however long this situation lasts. But I don't think we're going to go back to exactly the way things were. I think processes are going to change, and I think we should be open to that. That we may find a better way because of this, because extreme pressure produces discontinuous improvements, and I think that's where we're in at the moment.
Sure, and thank you for that. And Rob, finally, we'll go to you.
Yeah, I suppose, I'm just thinking that, our plant here is a 24/7 plant, and, that our team, our crisis team here supports through the night shifts, the weekend shifts, that there's always a senior member, there's always somebody on call to support if there's anything on site that anybody needs. I think we're checking our emails on our laptops at home a lot more than we have been. It's about keeping contact with everyone across all the shifts, because I suppose in office, a lot of people, we're only here a third of the week. There's the 2/3 that need to get support as well, especially at a time like this.
Rob, thank you so much. We're almost out of time. I just want to say a really big thank you to our 4 panelists this evening. Senan, who has been on admin, LBI, Lean Business Ireland, has a website, lbi.ie, which I'm sure you all are aware of, and it's full of lots of resources from different people across the country, case studies. But I think the main thing what it has is it has support and learning, so we can all move forward together. So let's embrace this current hashtag of we're all in it together, and stay safe, and thank you. Good, Senan?
Okay, guys, thank you very much. This has been recorded and will be available on leanbusinessireland.ie in the coming days. The room will remain open for another couple of minutes, so feel free to leave questions that we will put to the panel after the fact. So thank you guys on the panel for volunteering. And apart from that, check out the website, because there will be more of these types of events coming up. This is unfortunately our current new normal. So let's make the most of it. Thank you very much, and good night.
Good night. Thank you.